because I met Ronnie, at the Fulton County Stadium. And Ronnie said, well, Artimus, I'm going to fly 5 drummers and 5 sets of drums down to Jacksonville, Florida, and we're going to have a drum off. And I said, sounds good to me, man. Let's go. So about 3 days later, after I met Ronnie, and he had just been beaten up out in California, some gang had come up to the bus, and this one guy said, send off your baddest hombre. Well, naturally, Ronnie had to walk out there, right? And when I met him, he had 2 black eyes, fat lips. His nose was pointing that way, cuts. They beat his ass. Mm-hmm. And Gary Rossington came off the bus to see what was happening, and they picked him up and threw him on the trunk of a passing car. It was a cab. And they picked him up and flipped him up on this car. So Gary's going away on the back of this car, man. And they're pummeling Ronnie. So when I met him, he looked, they kidded him and said that he looked like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. Right. They said he looked like Reagan, and he was pretty rough. And so 3 days after I met him and after he said, we're going to do a drum off, he called me up and he said, I've been talking to Charlie Daniels and the Marshall Tucker guys, and they say that you're crazy enough to be in our band. And I just want you to come down to Jacksonville, bring your drums. I said, okay, where are we going to do the drum off? At like a club or something. He goes, no drum off. You just come on down. And he liked me, and he wanted to find out if I could play drums. So I came to Atlanta on Peachtree to the Alex Cooley's Electric Ballroom, which is the old Georgian Terrace ballroom. It's where they had the cast party for Gone with the Wind, right? So Alex Cooley had turned it into a big club called the Electric Ballroom, Alex Cooley's. And so I met Ed King and Leon Wilkeson, just a bass and guitar, one guitar, and met them there. And on the way to the gig on Peachtree, my Volkswagen microbus overheated. It's called, vapor lock. Right. It vapor locked on me because it's not water cooled. So I parked it on the curb. The Peachtree was 4 lanes. Boom, 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 boom. And I was parked at the stoplight on the curb in the right lane. I packed up my drums and walked the last 2 blocks. It took me 3 trips. And I took my drums up to Alex Cooley's Electric Ballroom and auditioned. And it was about 3 hours. And I didn't care if they towed my van or if I ever saw it again. This was the gig that I was, wanted to be there. So I auditioned. Ed King fixed me a Caesar salad at a restaurant next to the ballroom on Peachtree there. Everything was cool. Ed called Ronnie, said, yep, he can play drums. So that was that. And I went back expecting my van to be gone. Still sitting there. Still sitting there. And not even a ticket on it. And I left the emergency signals on, and it's a German car, so the signals were still kind of bleeping, It was good engineer. Right. And man, I went in, put the key, started it up, vapor lock. It had already got it cooled
gone
down.
Away.
And I drove back to Alex Cooley's, loaded up my drums, and went back home. So yeah, that was my introduction to Ronnie.